Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show. My name is Avrum Rosensweig, and I thank you so much for joining us, for watching, and for listening. And you should know that you have both options nowadays, so whatever your druthers are. This show is all about honoring humankind. It's the idea that I have and many people share is that we are an inimitable creation, that we are responsible for the development of so many beautiful and special things. And that there comes a time throughout history, seems cyclical, when we tend to forget. We tend to forget how special we are because there seems to be this overriding, this wind blowing through our home, the collective home of war, of anger, of wokeness. And my goal is to really try to present interviews of highly inspirational people, of which you can emulate, which you can hear, and be encouraged to get into your own personal zone, that zone making you better and that zone making the world better. So take this all in. We're expecting a wonderful interview today, and be committed to the idea that you want to be more so perhaps part of developing our world, taking it to a place of peace. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Simone Maman. Good afternoon, Simone. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
I'm great. Now you may know that name, Mammon, because I think my most popular guest to date, the individual whom I've spent a lot of time with online, is Nir Maman. Nir Maman is 47 years old, and he is an IDF soldier. He's someone who lives to protect his family first off, protect the Jewish people, and protect the state of Israel, Eretz Yisrael. As we speak, right now, Nir Maman is in Gaza. This is his second deployment to Israel since October the 7th. Is it his third? Well, I've done 3 interviews. Okay. Thank you, Simone. It's his third deployment, and you would know that. I am delighted to have with us today Nir's wife. And I must tell you that I advertised the shows prior, and I rarely ever get so much interest in the upcoming show, Simone, as I did for this one.
Well, I think it's because everybody has the same questions. What's this crazy woman thinking, sending her husband off to war when she's got 5 kids at home?
Yes, that's exactly right.
I know.
You know, and you just nailed the core of our interview. Just a little bit about Simone before we jump in. She is part Russian and part Moroccan. Now, that's a really good context to start this interview with, because for those of you who know Russians, it's a strong culture. Right? You like your borscht.
We like our borscht. Sure.
You like your borscht? And she's Moroccan. She's Moroccan, which means you're a very good cook, right?
You know what? I can attest to that. It does mean that I'm a very good cook.
Very good cook, I'm sure. I want to be invited for Shabbat.
Anytime.
Thank you. She's a mom of 5. And this mishigash, this craziness, is that she's been a 4-time national bodybuilding champion, right?
It's true.
It's crazy.
Is it?
I need to understand why.
You tell me first why it's crazy.
Because I don't get it. Like, I do my exercise, my curls.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the commitment to the development of the body. I need to understand it better. Okay. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah. It'll be very beautifully laced into our commitment to Israel and why we're doing what we're doing.
Perfect. So there's a bit of a context as to who Simone Maman is. And for the purpose of this interview today, she's married to Nir Maman, who is a beautiful man, a wonderful storyteller, very thought out, and he's protecting us, every Jew, everywhere, and I would argue, every good person. Yeah. Now, Simone, to set the context more so for our interview, I'd like to read you a poem, okay? And it's called My Soldier Husband. Yeah?
Mhm.
Since you left, by the way, it's an anonymous author. Since you left, I've been drinking coffee from your cup. I am frightened by distance, its arrogant perspective. I stack foamy dishes by the sink and leave them. I couldn't care less since you left. Since you left, I've been driving your car, and like you, I beep the horn enthusiastically. I've developed obsessions, handshaking, insomnia, and aversion to sentiment. Since you left, I sleep on your side of the bed. Shorten the miles between us with thoughts. Since you left, I'm plagued by the quiet fear of someone sneaking in and hiding downstairs. I'm not exaggerating. I sometimes think I'm destroyed beyond recognition. I wilt. I am a drooping eyelid. Since you left, the weather is mercurial and gales blow through our house. Soon my eyes will melt into tears I can't hide. Since you left, I carry your penknife in my pocket, and the swallows are late returning. I'm always improbably ill, and your sunglasses don't suit me. Since you left, I am two people and the sum of the world's simplicities. Forgive me, I can't look back. I can only wait for you. You, drenched in the smell of massacre, silent servant of your life and death. The newspaper you left rests on the table. I know your dream of our room under the modest light of the moon. The water drips from my hair. I wear your dressing gown. Since you left, the universe has shifted. I'm surrounded by idiots. I'm more in love with you than ever. What do you think?
I think the last two statements are accurate, and the rest of it feels very foreign to me. I'm being
Who,
perfectly honest.
who are the idiots?
Well, pre and after October 7th,
Yes.
a lot of people. A lot of people. That's why we keep our circle really, really small. The idiots, I would say, more so than those carrying the flag of a people trying to hide our history, are actually the people who won't even stand up for our shared history. Those are the idiots. The idiots are the Jewish people who have gotten lost in this Western culture of complacency and camaraderie and compassion and staying polite and staying silent. Those who can't actually recount our history past 1947 and 1948. Those who think that we are nothing more than matzah and how many cups of red wine and a challah and some candles. Those who don't understand our archaeology, our ancestry, and our purpose. Those are the idiots. And they're not in my circle anymore. So
Yeah, you've dropped friends since October 7th, haven't you?
we have. Well, I wouldn't say that I've dropped friends. I would say that we have by force used October 7th as a filter to clean out the people who really don't need to be in our circle. Probably people who weren't friends to begin with.
Since Nir's gone off to war, you love him more?
Didn't think that it was possible, but yes. But yes, so much more. It's a really amazing thing to see the man that I thought I was marrying become himself even more so. There is nothing that I find more delicious in a person when they actually prove their passion. It's one thing to say, like, oh, I'm really into, yeah, prove it. Yeah, prove it. And I would charge the Jewish people that are listening and anybody that they want to pass this on to prove your passion. Mm-hmm. Do something every single day to prove how devout you actually are. And I don't mean with respect to how secular you are, how orthodox you are. I mean, if you seriously are passionate about our people, about Judaism, about Israel, about our entitlement to actually protecting our homeland, prove it. Make your Judaism a verb. Do something every day to actually show how committed you are to the cause. And that's literally what my husband is living and breathing every single day. And so when it comes to that poem, I will say that leaving the messy dishes, my house is so much cleaner since my husband's been gone. and he knows because the kids tell him on the phone all the time, they're like, Daddy, all the beds are made all the time. And the sink is empty and the house is so super clean. But more than that poem doesn't actually resonate with me because in as much as I miss him and there are tears, of course, there's a longing for him. My husband is a lot more than just the presence of this very, very large, good-looking man in our home. He's everywhere in this house. He is in my children's discipline. He is in our laughter. He's in everything. We've built this home together and both of our energies are very much fused into it. And I think this idea of us being physically divided, therefore energetically divided, is so bizarre, because our oneness is undividable. It's divine and undividable.
Do you not sleep in his shirt or on his side of the bed?
You can't ask me what I sleep in. I can't tell
Well,
you.
we'll take that question back. Do you not sleep on his side of the bed?
I don't sleep on his side of the bed, actually.
Okay.
But I do have a whole bunch of pillows stacked up, and it takes a lot of pillows to be what would be the size of my husband. My husband, right?
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. So I do have pillows stacked up there, and that does actually make me feel a little bit better. But no, I don't sleep on his side of the bed, and we actually all wear his shirts. He's got a great collection of police shirts, military shirts, and they're all really oversized. I love working out in them. The kids wear them too. My oldest two girls, they steal them all the time. Everything goes missing from his closet. But no, my connection to my husband has nothing to do with things. It has to do with thoughts. It has to do with feelings, and I don't need stuff to feel.
Simone, it's more of the symbolism. My brother-in-law, David Rosensweig, was murdered, Shalom Neda, like we say in Hebrew, in 2002. He had gone out to help his son change a tire, and long story short, there was a crazy guy looking for drugs who stabbed my brother-in-law in the back. He went down and he died. Well, my sister had poured coffee into a cup for him, not hot water, just the coffee. And he didn't come home ever. And she left that cup there for probably a couple of years. So it's more of the symbolism than I'm asking about.
I understand that completely. I try and stand in my faith, and I try to remind myself every single day, especially when I do get scared and I do get worried and I do get teary, that Hashem has a plan for us. He has our day one as well as our last day planned. And I don't believe that Nir's proximity to threat, danger, is going to change what that last day was planned to be. It's not for me to understand why, a certain day might have been chosen, and it's not for me to understand why, the circumstances of whatever that day is going to be would have been chosen. It's just for me to accept that it's all somehow in our individual highest good and our collective highest good. And so I won't allow myself to be confronted by the fact that he's walking into the lion's den, because I really so sincerely believe that not only does he have his brothers who have his best interest at heart around him, he has Hashem's hand over him. So I'm scared for our people more than I'm scared for my husband, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Knowing that, you said before that he's more of the person that you thought he would be when you married him. He's developed incredibly. So who did you think he was when you married him, and who is he today?
I don't even know if I've ever shared this with anybody, but part of what, this is going to sound so dysfunctional.
Good. I like that.
Oh, hopefully the answer is in one of those books behind you. But part of what attracted me to Nir was how much he reminded me of the things that I admire in my own father. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
What were they? What were those things?
So my father, who was born in Morocco, grew up in Israel, and he very, very proudly served in the IDF as well. And there's the Moroccan piece too. I do think they all kind of, they have a certain air to them. They all kind of move a certain way. But it was just that I can't even put a word to it. There was just something really powerful about his presence. And growing up, I really and truly actually thought that my dad was a superhero. I thought that he was invincible, untouchable, impenetrable, unshakable. And I remember coming across actually a video, a promotional video that Nir had put out many years ago. And I had messaged him and I said, this video really struck me. And it reminds me a lot of my father. And I saw that strength. I saw that conviction, that determination. And it felt like home. It felt like home. So that was who I thought I had found. And I've got to watch Nir actually be that man and really grow into that man even more so over the years. We have 5 children together. The 3 eldest are from a previous marriage. And a lot of, I'm assuming that a lot of your listeners have seen the video that was circulating on all of like the different Jewish social media pages of Nir surprising our eldest daughter at work when he came home from his first round, post October 7th. And, it was just shock and then thrill. And then she grew wings and flew into his arms. Like she catapulted herself into his arms. And what I think is so beautiful about that particular video is not that okay, there's a daughter who's so happy to see her dad home safe and sound. It's the fact that technically that's her stepfather. So here's a man who walked into a situation where there were already 3 kids who have a biological father, and he allowed himself to be vulnerable. He allowed himself to be judged. He allowed himself to be so exposed, and he earned the love and the respect of these 3 kids who already had a dad, right? And so that's the whole thing is I see this man who just, he's willing to risk himself for the betterment of others. He's willing to put it all on the line to go and accomplish the things that he's actually committed to doing, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. And that I see every single day in the relationships that he's built in this home. And credit to my kids also for allowing them to even take a chance on such a relationship. He's doing the exact same thing today in Israel. It's not easy. When he went the very first time, when he was younger, when he first served, he went as a lone soldier. He wasn't married, didn't have kids. I don't know if he had a girlfriend at the time. We'll pretend to know. That makes me feel better.
For sure not. No, he for sure didn't.
He's never liked any other girls.
Of course.
And, but there was less on the line, and not to minimize his service at all, but he was truly a lone soldier. It was him and his duffel bag. Today, he's there doing what I feel like must be insurmountable at times because, he's walking towards danger, but having to think about his wife and having to think about his kids. It's difficult. It would be so much easier to turn away. It would be so much easier to never even show up. But this isn't about what we want to do. It's what we must do, what we've signed up to do, and what we follow through with. I think he's amazing.
When you think about that he's in the line of danger,
yeah,
what sort of images do you have in your head? What sort of thinking process do you go through, knowing that your beloved Nir is in such an environment?
There are a lot of things that I think about and oftentimes try not to think about. I don't think any of us have been sheltered from the images that we've seen online. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what the battlefield actually looks like. Hamas did us a service and a disservice by filming all of these atrocities, all these horrific massacres, and publishing them for the entire world to see. So as far as what I see in my head, I think it's something that we all see, whether we're thinking about a specific soldier, a specific family member, or just Israel as a whole. But what I also see is a man who I pray in those moments where I know how equipped he is, I know how skilled he is, I know how strategic he is, I know how innate this is to him. I hope that what I'm also seeing is a man who in those moments doesn't hesitate, who actually isn't thinking about what he's left behind, but what he's walking towards, which, God willing, is a much safer future for Jews within Israel as well as outside its borders.
How strategic is he?
Meticulous.
Tell me about that.
He's meticulous. Like I said, except for around this house. Mess. Complete and utter mess, but something's got to give. He's, it's, you can see it in the way that he prepares himself when there's somewhere that we're going out. The care that he takes, the self-care. Some people know Nir for his mohawk, or if I guess it's what, as far as his haircuts, that's probably one that people know best. It's the one that I'm the fondest of. But even just watching him take care of it and just how tedious he is about it, how everything just has to be just so. The respect that he has for any uniform that I've ever seen him wear, whether it's, something provincially issued here, whether it's Israeli uniform, the way that he cares for them, the way that he puts on his tefillin in the morning, like it's just everything that he does is done with so much intention and so much presence. And I know because I've stalked all of his YouTube videos, as I think everybody else should too, that even when it comes to self-defense, even when it comes to the methodologies that he's developed that have been implemented into, into military strategy, abroad, whether that be in Israel, whether that be in the States, it's always so well thought out. And that anything that you ask Nir to explain, he explains to the greatest detail. Nothing is missed. Everything is considered. And so, when I say that he's strategic, when I say that he's, methodical, my son who's almost 10, who really just idolizes his father, he would say that he's tactical. Daddy's tactical in everything that he does. And it's true. And I would say that he loves on this family very much in the same way. Sometimes overthinking things, but certainly a pretty strategic guy.
What is it like stepping into the world of someone who has really ensconced himself or surrounded himself with responding to violence?
What is that like? I'll tell you that at times it's been challenging, because he has a hyper awareness of everything that's going on around us all the time. And there have been instances where we've been together, perhaps just the two of us out on a date, and he senses it before it even happens. And we find ourselves in a situation where there could be, just something that shouldn't be going on, however many yards away from us. And his instinct is to run towards it. And that's something that I've had to come to grips with, that he is one of those people who's always going to run towards danger. He can't help himself. I don't know where it comes from, but I admire it in him tremendously. And I think back to the images of 9/11 and seeing the firefighters running towards the Twin Towers as people were running away from them, running for their lives. And that's the whole thing, is he's running, but he's running for our lives. And so it's not always the easiest thing. It isn't, because, I want to be selfish sometimes, be like, just pick me, stay with me, protect me. But I also understand that he has this really tremendous sense of community, whether he knows the people in his community or not. And it's not something that I would ever want for him to dim, for the sake of my ego. And it's why, the morning of October 7th, we got up and we did, what we're not supposed to do, which is check our phones. And, all saw the posts and then the messages coming through. And, I looked at him and I said, "You're not going to go, are you?" And then I said, no, go. Because it's, even if he would have wanted not to, I know that it's what he would have had to do, like written on his heart, like inscribed in his DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So he got my full support, and he will continue to, every single day, for as many times as he has to do this.
Seems to me that you run toward danger as well.
Why do you say that?
By virtue of being with your Nir, by virtue of telling him to go, that's running towards danger.
I don't feel that way.
What do you feel?
He's the safest place I've ever known.
Oh.
He's the safest place I've ever known. He's
still with him in Israel, with him in Gaza.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, of course. It's when a Jewish man and a Jewish woman get married, and you stand under the chuppah. Like we could just go to City Hall and fill out the paperwork and pay your fee and get married. And we could just go and sign the ketubah and then move on with it. But we don't. We stand under the chuppah with 4 pillars that become the foundation of our entire marriage. And our 4 pillars are love and respect and trust and communication. And I think that there's something very significant about that step, the choice to stand under the chuppah and ask for the blessing of those 4 pillars within the marriage. The significance is not those 4 pillars within the marriage, but the oneness of the 2 people coming together and how they will stand on those 4 pillars for the greater home, not just the home that they build together, the home of the Jewish people, our collective home, our communal home. So yes, love and respect and trust between myself and my husband, but as a unit, now also love and trust and respect and communication with God. And the conscription that we made on that day. What is that to have a Jewish home? It means more than picking a Jewish neighborhood, in the outskirts of Toronto and being in proximity to a What a Bagel. It's more than that. It's a lot more than that. And that's why, when we were speaking before, I spoke to you about like our archaeology, our ancestry. It's more than the practices. It's the people. It's the trajectory that we've been on. So in what way would I feel safer if I was married to a man who didn't understand the commitment that we made on that day, not just to ourselves, but to God, but to Hashem, and but to the Jewish people everywhere? How would that feel safer to me? That's our compatibility. It's our alignment. We have a mutual goal. And so I feel a heck of a lot safer knowing that my husband is fighting for it every single day. What would that feel like if I had to fight for it by myself? I would feel lonely. I would be married and lonely.
Do you feel lonely at all with him there?
No.
Not at all.
And I know that people assume that. And I understand. I understand completely. But I really do mean it from the bottom of my heart when I tell you that the bond that I have with Nir goes so far beyond the physicality of us having to be in the same room. When you have, a Jewish couple that observes the laws of purity, and there's a period of time where there's no physical contact, they're not alone. They're closer than ever because they're connecting over the mind, they're connecting over the soul, they're connecting in conversation. There's a deepening in the relationship. I don't feel alone. I feel like part of me is out doing more work than I could do if that part of me was here.
Explain to me your communication mode with Nir. How do you guys communicate? Are there rules?
While he's away?
And while he's home.
And while he's home?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you've got 5 kids, or when your husband's like, hey, babe, gotta go crossing over into Gaza. I said to a new girlfriend today, it's chick-chuck. You say what you gotta say, and then you get back to doing what you gotta do. Life moves fast. Life moves really, really fast. But when we do have the time to really sit down and talk, our conversations are significant and they're substantial. You obviously had the amazing experience of being able to have conversations with Nir, and so I think you got a good sense of how introspective he is and how beautifully articulate he is. Mm-hmm. My mind runs like a mile a minute, and I'm a little bit more of a squirrel that way. And so, when I've got the mic, I'm going in 20,000 different directions at once, and he has to talk too much. But yeah, we find our balance. We talk a lot about our kids, and not in the way that feels distracting from our relationship. We talk a lot about our kids because that's our passion project. That's the extension of us. That's, if we do it right, the gift that we're able to give to the world. There is nothing off limits. We have really, really hard talks. We don't agree on everything, but we love each other regardless. And we've gotten through the hard. We've gotten through the hard to get to the good. And I'd like to think that when we do have those conversations, that we remember that we're on the same team, that we have a mutual goal, which is to get back on the same page, always. So I wouldn't say that, that we fight. I would say that we conversate aggressively, but it works. It works really well.
Can you describe your feeling of love for him? Because I know when I interviewed him 3 times, he adores you. He absolutely adores you. I think your relationship is one that many people will say, man, that is sort of defines what a great couple can be. Well, what is your feeling? How do you describe your love for him? You say that it's not just being in the same room together.
No, it's not. Um, I have done many things in my time. So I'm 45, done a lot of interesting things. I've hosted TV shows. I have been a tattoo artist. As you said earlier, I was, yeah, her. I was a 4-time national bodybuilding champion. I've done a few things. And
I like the way you say her.
yeah, well, because when we get up on stage, and that was actually just after having Zev, after having my fourth. That was my proud mommy moment. But yeah, when we get up on stage, we kind of get into character, right? You find that facet of yourself that is the most confident and the most brazen and proud. And we don't have words on stage, right? You can only communicate with your presence and your body that you've built. But even at that, it's a forever work in progress. And that to say that at any point you have, your physical assets and attributes that you've accomplished, but you also have your deficiencies, your deficits that you're going to continue to work upon. And so how you pose and how you present yourself is to always put your best face forward and kind of blur the lines of those, things that you're still working upon.
Yes.
So that's why I say, that girl, because she's a part of me, but she's not all of me. But she's fun. She's really fun. Anyhow, what was I saying to you? What were we talking about?
I
Yes.
asked you to define your love for.
Yeah, so I was saying that I've been a lot of people through the years, and I've worn a lot of hats, and I'm a lot of people to a lot of different people. But I can honestly say that it's actually in the safety of my marriage, like my relationship to my husband, that I've actually been able to figure out who I am to myself. And that's why I said to you that it's the safest place I've ever been, because he has loved me just the same when I win and when I falter. And it's that safety that allows me to continue to explore who it is that I am. I love him because he's allowed me to love myself more. And that doesn't seem to ever be a threat to him. It's been, this marriage has sincerely been the most incredible gift to my personal development. And so, when people say like, oh, who are you, when you're not a mom, when you're not a wife, it's like, I don't even see myself that way, and not in a bad way. I don't feel like I've lost myself in those roles. I've found myself in those roles. This marriage, and specifically this marriage as a Jewish marriage, has given me the context within which I have developed my motherhood, within which I have developed even bodybuilder Simone, within which I have developed the practice that I invite my clients into. This marriage is the gift that sincerely has defined me. It hasn't taken anything away. I love him because he has helped me get to know myself. Nir. Why ask me these things on the day that he's actually gone into Gaza? Yeah, I do. I do miss him. I do miss him, but honestly, I couldn't be prouder of him. At least I keep saying that, and then I am. Yeah, why do I love him? I really and truly, like, I love him. I love him because of how he's allowed me to fall in love with myself.
Was your marriage beshert?
Must have been.
You feel God in the marriage?
When we first met, I remember when he walked into the room. Sometimes when you're standing in a room and there's somebody who has a certain kind of energy, good or bad, but you feel it before you even see them. Mm-hmm. It was one of those where I felt it and I had to turn back. I remember meeting him, being introduced to him, and thinking, I know you. Like, I know you. And I couldn't place it. And the interesting part of that story is that, in fact, our parents actually were friends years ago. And so it is entirely possible that we crossed paths. I was speaking to Nir's dad a little bit ago and learned that his dad is phenomenal furniture builder. He's an incredible carpenter. And he actually designed and built most of the furniture in my house growing up. And apparently Nir was actually his sidekick the day that the furniture got installed in my room in particular. So he's been in my space before. Maybe that was just the residual energy that I was feeling. Apparently went to the same elementary school. Little known secret, not sure if you know, but Nir actually used to be a dancer as well. He took
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he took dance in high school, and it's the dance studio that they used during the day was actually the dance studio that I used to train in the evenings. So a lot of opportunities to have crossed paths before we actually met, but I think that it was divine timing that we met when we did and that we didn't when we didn't. We weren't ready for each other. We weren't quite ready for each other. So yeah, Hashem's all over our marriage.
You have 5 children.
Mm-hmm.
Nir told me during one of the interviews that his little guy, your little guy, had a real problem with Nir going to Israel fighting. And at some point in time, I guess he FaceTimed your family, but he was wearing a helmet. And your little guy seemed very sad. And Nir said to him, "Why you sad, honey? I'm out now. I'm going to be coming home soon." In something along the lines of, "Yes, but you're still wearing your helmet." And I guess in his little mind, it was, "You're still a soldier." How are they dealing with this, the 5 of them?
Each one in their own way. Five fingers of one hand, but each one of them with a very, very different personality. Our kids are all over the spectrum as far as age. So Emmett is turning 5 in this summer, and Zev is going to be 10 this summer, and then we have Marley and Liam who are turning 19 and 21 this summer, and then Spencer, the only non-summer birthday, who is turning 17 in December. And I think that actually has been the most challenging part about this entire experience, is navigating the support and any healing that's had to happen around the situation with each one of them, and respecting the fact that they're experiencing it as individuals. Mm-hmm. In my version of the story, I'm the main character, and in Nir's version of the story, he's the main character. And each one of them, although they play the role of the child, they each play it their own way. And so in their version of the story, they're the main character. And so I've had to really sit down and find a way to actually carve out time for each of them at the drop of a hat, because that's the way it goes when you've got kids, to just learn about what it feels like for them and hear their thoughts, and not necessarily try to change them, just kind of be the bumper pad, to get them back on track, as is I think the best way to parent in general.
Yeah, I do too. So do I. Yeah.
It's actually been really special just being able to kind of observe them, watch them experience this. And I've taken a lot away from the way that they have been walking through, the last, wow, it's been a long time already, hasn't it? Zev, who is our almost 10-year-old, he's my mini Nir. He looks just like him, he moves just like him, and he definitely idolizes his dad. His greatest aspiration is to serve in the IDF. God willing, he'll be able to do that. And it's been amazing because he knows that the daddy's a soldier. He's always known daddy as the law enforcer, and he's shared a lot of his interests, whether it's because he just naturally does, or because daddy does. I don't know, but through this, he's been forced to defend what his dad does. Online, yes, at 10 years old, they're already online. Not so much in school, but somewhat. And what I found is that he's become really emboldened, and he's learned a lot more about why daddy does what he does, and what the actual meaning is behind an IDF soldier. Like, what is the purpose? Why do we put so much into them and behind them, and why are we all cheering them on? And so it's been really cool to see that he's actually given his own goal so much more meaning. Like, I feel like he's finding his why through all of this. He's the one who cries the most. But I've also watched him speak up the most. He's gotten really, really loud. He's changed all of his, online names on the little games that he plays to something involved with Israel, and all of his little like avatars are now the Israeli flag. And so there's this really incredible sense of pride that he carries, and it's been really amazing to see that. I don't know if we've taught it to him, or that's just the Jewish spirit, but it's like, okay, we can cry for a bit, and then we're going to wipe our tears, and we're going to get into action, right? We're going to actually start like moving towards that goal. Nothing's going to deter us. And I see that in him, and it's been really, really special to watch that develop. Emmett's the little guy. He's yeah, him, sweet boy.
By the way, it's so cool that Nir did a picture like that. He's not the stereotypical soldier, is he?
Nir always does pictures like that.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
He's so
wonderful.
in love with these children.
Oh, I can see.
The world knows him one way. They know him in his uniform, and they know the tough guy, the capable guy. I think at times he's even underestimated in that respect. But we know someone completely different. We know the guy with the silly voices, and and the guy who's willing to dress up in costumes, and the guy who's willing to roll around on the floor with our puppy, and give him kisses on the nose. And he's a teddy bear. He's a really good man. But yeah, so Emmett is he shows up in the world in the biggest way. Like he's bold, and he doesn't pull punches, but this experience has been hard on him. It has been. He's pretty quiet about how much he misses Daddy. He actually typically doesn't use his words when he misses him, and he just shows me. He usually shows me by bringing some of his favorite toys over to near side of the bed, and he'll tuck them in there. Or he'll actually go and pull out some of Nir's things, and he might use his shirt as a little snuggle at night. The older kids, it's been a lot of conversation. Obviously, they're a little bit more on top of what's actually going on in the world, and what the actual threats are, what the implications of having a father away at war is. For our eldest daughter, she was, in that video that went really viral, and she got a lot of pushback. She got a lot of hate messages, very, very ugly, threatening messages. That was really challenging for her. But again, I've watched all of them grow through it. Our daughter, Marley, she's away in university, and she's had certain, I think there's a bit more of an awareness now about just who her people are, and maybe who her people aren't. And again, just, watching them come to grips with what's going on in the world and not shy away from who they are, get a little bit louder about who they are. It's been really, really interesting. And I don't know that they're really all that different from any other kid, whether they have, an IDF soldier as a father or not. All of our kids right now are, especially I think in the diaspora. I mean, Israeli kids are born and raised with this as part of their reality. Yes. We've grown very, very comfortable in the diaspora, to the point where I don't think that, I think a lot of people were very surprised, not by October 7th, but the societal fallout since October 7th. And, I'm seeing kids, and I say kids, I do mean mostly, my older kids' age, all around us, some of them falling victim to a lot of the propaganda and the narrative that they're hearing, not having the words to actually defend against it, and actually parroting a lot of the things that they're hearing. So it's just been very interesting to watch my kids, be confronted by everything that's going on around them on the university campuses, online, and see them actually seek better understanding rather than get quiet, get shy, or follow the status quo.
When your kids or one of your children will ask you, likely the most difficult question, what if something happens to Daddy? What do you say?
When I was younger, I asked my dad, when you were in the army, how did you run towards danger? Like, why did you do that? How did you do that with confidence? Like, why weren't you scared? And there were two things that I learned when I asked him that question. I used to ask that question of him a lot, just to see if he was going to be consistent with his answer and if it was actually true.
Yeah,
You got to challenge your beliefs sometimes to to either come up with new ones that are better,
most definitely. Yes.
or or to reinforce the ones that you have. So yeah, I used to just come at him with the exact same question every single time, like, how'd you do that? And there were a couple of things that I took away. Number one is that you have to have more faith than you have fear. And in our love, trust, respect, communication as those four pillars, it's that trust that we have to have more than anything else. And he said, I trusted that if it wasn't my time, then I would be okay. And if it was my time, then I would go. And that would be, that would be my life come full circle. And the other thing that I took away from that was that courage, bravery can't actually exist in the absence of fear. Like, what are you so brave about if you're not actually afraid, right? It's actually confronting your fear. Mm-hmm. And then because of faith, moving forward regardless. That's what actual courage is, right? It's like, yeah, I know you're afraid, but you can do hard things, right? That's what it is. It's carrying that fear with you as you move forward. And so, when they ask, like, but interesting enough, nobody has asked me yet. The kids haven't asked me yet, what if something happens? And maybe it's because it's a hard question to ask. Maybe it's because we don't want to even consider the answer and what that might look like for us. Or maybe it's because they learned the same lesson that my father taught me. It's that, when it's your time, no matter where you are, right? Whether you're in Gaza or whether, you're, I don't know, local bagel joint, wherever it is that you're going to be. When it's your time, it's your time. And that even if, God forbid, something were to happen, no matter how scary that is, we can be courageous and we can keep moving forward. At least that's a lesson that I taught. I hope I've been able to impart that upon them.
I jotted down some quotes that you had jotted down. You have a lot of great Instagram stuff. You're very, very creative in terms of nutrition, in terms of food. I wrote down a lovely recipe of yours of chocolate avocado dessert. And I think, yeah, that's right on. I'm going to do that,
Give it a try. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I know. But you really, really love quotes. I'll tell you two of them. One is the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. Yeah. It's not about the circumstance, but rather what you are made of.
Yeah. It's true. And this time that we're all living through right now, this very living Torah that we are all existing in, has definitely revealed us, revealed our truest selves. There are some people who will cower. There are some people who will hide. And there are some people who will rise into any form of advocacy that they're capable of, whether that means, lacing up those boots and walking into Rafiach, as my husband did today, whether that means sharing this podcast just to raise awareness when people might actually lack the words themselves, whether that means going and, buying some of my favorite books, which I can recommend to your listeners if they're interested, to really start decolonizing their mind and get to know our people a little bit better. There's a lot that we can do, but in these times, the fact is that some people are going to find the audacity to do it, and some people won't.
Are you afraid? Are you a frightened person?
In general?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Here's another quote. My purpose in life is to be happy and fulfilled, and nothing makes me feel happier or more fulfilled than sharing moments, beautiful moments, sad moments, nurturing moments, any moments with my children. Times are always ideal, but they are real and full of lessons, and I know that I am blessed to have as many or as few as I am gifted by this life. For her smile and that of her siblings, I will give anything for what I take from myself and give to them comes back to my soul tenfold.
I stand by that. I do stand by that. Part of what is so powerful about my relationship with my husband is that we've walked through some really, really dark times. And while I recognize that it would be perhaps lovely just, without them and only be thing is relative. And so in the sense that, you can't know joy without knowing sadness, and oftentimes, we don't even appreciate our good health unless we've experienced a lack thereof. I welcome whatever it is that I need to walk through to get to where it is that I want to go. I think about bodybuilding, for instance, and how much work, how much time, how much sacrifice, how much dedication it took to be able to build a body that I felt was worthy of getting on stage, and a time was worthy of earning 4 national titles. It wasn't easy. It's called a workout, right? Not a lazy out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you that it was absolutely worth it, because it meant that when I did get to stand on stage, what I stood with was earned. It wasn't given. What I have with my husband is earned. I will tell you that we were not given the bond that we have. We were given the opportunity to work for it. And I will also tell you that once you have it, whether it's your health, whether it's an aesthetic body, whether it's a relationship, the one that you've always dreamed of, whatever it took to get to it, to build it, to acquire it, is exactly what you have to continue to do to sustain it. So I'm not afraid of hard work, and I'm not afraid of hard times. And in fact, I welcome them, because it is really and truly what gives everything good that we have meaning. Why do we fight so hard for Israel? We fight because we've always fought. We fight because Israel wasn't given to us. The responsibility of Israel was given to us. And we say, like, oh, we're the chosen ones. Chosen to do what? Chosen to do what? To live in nice neighborhoods? Chosen to have a really sparkly Magen David around our neck? I know some people would think chosen to run the world. I wish. No. Chosen to carry out one of the most difficult responsibilities, the most difficult tasks that is. And that is to live as God wants us to be a light for the world, but yes, also to protect the land that he loves the most. It's a responsibility. It's not easy. Who said it's supposed to be easy? It's actually the blood, sweat, and tears that gives it so much meaning. So yes, I stand by what I wrote. Of course, I welcome the hard. I welcome the hard because it gives us the happy. I welcome the struggle because it gives us something to celebrate.
Simone, why are we hated so much, the Jewish people?
Honestly, I don't know, and I don't care. I don't. Like, it's like, when somebody says to me, like, if a pro-Palestinian, or an anti-Zionist were to ask you this, like, what would you say? Nothing. I don't care. Those aren't the people that I need to speak to. Those aren't the people that I need to convince. I'm concerned with the Jewish people who don't understand our Judaism. I am concerned with the Jewish people who don't have an appreciation for the fact that we're an ethno-religion. I'm concerned for the people who are one of us, but don't even know who they are. So I don't know why we're so hated. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go and concern myself with what's going on in my neighbor's house. I need to concern myself first and foremost with what's going on right here. And it's within this home of Judaism that we need to start concerning ourselves, that we need to start learning our story, being able to actually teach it down to our children so other people don't put words in our mouth. We have to decidedly write this as an autobiography, rather than read the lies of others and allow it to actually become a part of our conscious reality. I don't know why we're so hated.
Do you study Torah?
Not to the extent that I should. Not to
Have
the
you?
extent that somewhat. I grew up in a home, as you know, with a Moroccan father here in Toronto, and God bless him. But my brother and I didn't go to, we didn't go to Jewish school. We didn't go to day school because we were told that you need to go to Jewish school for. I had to pay for that for. You can learn everything you need to know right here, at the Shabbat table. And so the truth is that I never learned how to pray. My mother and my father, when they got married, they didn't have a common language. Just two really good-looking people who got together. God knows how they actually communicated with each other. So, I learned Russian from my mom and a lot of French from my dad and English in school. I went to school as like a little immigrant kid with a Russian accent, even though I was born and raised here in Toronto. So even Hebrew, I actually don't have to the extent that I wish that I did. When Nir first went to Israel, on November 1st was his first departure date, his first day of service. I went online and I signed up with Citizen Cafe Tel Aviv, which is like an online ulpan. They actually have physical locations in Israel. So, if you're to make aliyah and you want to go and learn, you can do it by conventional ulpan, or you can actually connect with Citizen Cafe. This isn't like a plug, but they were just really awesome. And that was my goal, is that I was going to learn Hebrew so that I could read our books in my native tongue. I could read them without a translation or without a transliteration. That was the goal. So work in progress.
Good for you. That's great.
But as far as, did I study Torah? Like I said, most of my learning was acquired at home. And my relationship with Hashem is like any relationship with, a daughter and a father. It's tumultuous at times. It's up and down. There's times when, I get upset with him, and probably many times that he's been upset with me. But it's one that I'm committed to, and I keep coming back to. And when you ask me, do you feel Hashem in your marriage? Absolutely. And I hope, I pray over, my Shabbat candles. The one thing that I always ask for is, please use me and show me how to show my children who you are. So I study Torah, not as much as I wish I could, but I feel like I know him through other means.
What are the books that you recommend?
Okay, so the first one I read when I was, I don't even think I was in high school yet. Either way, it's called The Vanishing American Jew, and it's by Professor Alan Dershowitz. I don't know if copies are readily available, because I actually have gone online to look for them, because I keep talking about this book and I want to give it out to people, and I haven't actually been able to find any except for my own copy, tattered, that I still have. But if there's anybody that wants it, I'm more than happy to loan it out if they can connect with me. Just got to bring it back to me, because it's got all my little notations from when I was a lot younger. It's a funny book, that Vanishing American Jew, because when I first read it, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And I thought that Professor Alan Dershowitz was off his rocker. And I thought that he was radicalized. And I thought that he was just not of this time. But the fact is that he was well ahead of his time. What he speaks about in The Vanishing American Jew is the risk that comes with comfort in our communities in the diaspora. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he spoke of essentially now, where our numbers would be in decline, and where our passion for our religion would be in decline, simply because we got too comfortable and we walked away from it. Yes. Whether that be through, marrying outside of religion, or just a reductionist practice. And yeah, I just remember reading and just thinking, this guy's nuts. But here we are, we got really comfortable, so much so that not only are we practicing with less observance, but again, a lot of us don't actually know our story. A lot of us don't understand what the borders were, what they are, how they were acquired, why they moved. why they're important. They don't understand, in the 60s, post-war, would there actually have been a Palestinian state, or would we have had more Egypt and more Jordan? Like, we really don't know, because we've just gotten so comfortable here mixing and mingling with everybody. And by no means am I saying that we should become, an isolated community, but we have to know who we are to be able to show up in our new communities and lend something to it. Yes, as Jews. So that is a great book. It's a great book. It's kind of like, in my opinion, the version of George Orwell's 1984. Very,
Okay.
very predictive. And I think even today, even though we really have fast forwarded to this sort of prophetic, read, it is still worth reading to really understand the damage that we have done by getting as comfortable as we have. So Vanishing American Jew, Professor Alan Dershowitz, definitely go read it. The other two books are both called Israel.
Yes.
So listen,
Good titles.
Pardon me?
Good titles.
Great titles, isn't it? Everybody's in a rush. We got to just get to the point, right? One is by Daniel Gordis, and it's so funny because I think it's actually like Israel, the concise history of whatever. It's like this big. There's nothing concise about it, but when you understand that we are a people who have been here for thousands upon thousands of years, that's pretty concise.
Yes, it is.
That's one book. So if you really like kind of like getting into it, if you're really like unpacking and you want all the details and you want to be equipped with, whether it's, for yourself or so that you can actually defend yourself against this sort of current, this popularized narrative, that's definitely the book to read. And then the other one, if you actually want a concise read of our history, I would say Israel by Noah Tishby is phenomenal. She writes in a very conversational sort of style, and it almost feels like you're sitting with your best friend. She's like, hey, let me tell you about your people. Yeah. Noah Tishby's phenomenal. I'm sure your listeners have probably consumed a lot of the media that she's put out, especially since October 7th. She's a great advocate for all of us, and I just think that it's a really accessible read. And yeah, like I said, a lot shorter. So those are three that I would jump into, like add to cart immediately.
Simone Maman, there are people out there who are looking for words of hope during this very difficult time for the Jewish people, a sense of everything's going to be okay, of strength. Can you send out such a message?
I can, and I can do it with a great amount of confidence. And this is simply because of the data that I have. I'm a very science-focused individual. My work in nutrition is really all about digging into the science. I like, challenging the narrative. I like challenging, the dogma in my industry. And I would say that the data that we have on the Jewish people is that we win. We win. But we only win if we actually show up for the fight. Mm-hmm. The reason that this very small group of people, truly against all odds, the reason that this people who on day one of finally being back home on their land was able to actually handle and overwhelm how many different countries, how many different sophisticated militaries that were there to completely devastate our nation. The reason that we were able to do that is because of our convictions, is because of our history, is because we carry the blood, the tears, the sweat, and also the pride, the power, the prowess of our people. We have our IDF soldiers who are protecting us on the ground. We have the Iron Dome that is protecting us overhead. And we have the hand of Hashem and his promise to the Jewish people that so long as we show up with that love, that respect, that trust, and that communication for him and within our homes, that he would continue to show up for us. We are the underdog, but there is nothing that the world loves more than the underdog winning. It's true on American Idol.
It's true in Israel.
It's true in Israel. I'd like to say that, in Nir's hands alone, we're all safe. But the fact is that there are many Nirs out there, not quite as special as mine, but there are many out there who, even if you're afraid, even if you feel silenced, even if you don't know what to say or how to show up, they're showing up for us. We are going to be okay. And I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, if the story doesn't read well yet, it means it's not over. Don't put the book down. Keep turning the pages, keep showing up. We are going to experience the happiest ending, but I would encourage you to act as if today. Show up today, smile today, find something to celebrate today in the spirit of your Judaism. And we spoke earlier, I don't recall if it was, while we were recording or before, but I would say prove your passion. Can you do something every single day to prove, forget about to the world, to yourself, that you are truly committed to this cause?
Yeah.
Every single day, something Jewish, something, whether it's a conversation with Hashem, whether it's sharing one of these books, whether it's tuning into a podcast like this, whether it's taking the Magen David out from under the shirt and wearing it, outside, whether it's actually being honest with yourself and figuring out where are the deficiencies, where am I lacking, right? Like what do I not know? Do I need to improve my language? Do I actually need to learn about, where we've been all the way down to, the Canaanites? Like where are the deficiencies? Plug those holes. Plug those holes. Do your checks and balances. Be tactical, be surgical, be diligent, especially when it gets hard. Don't rely on motivation right now. And this energy, this is amazing. This is amazing energy because it's motivating so many of us to do things that we've never done before. But eventually the dust will settle. Continue then to let this practice be rooted in discipline, not willpower. Our soldiers get tired. They're exhausted. I'm telling you from the words of an IDF soldier. They're tired. They're hungry. They're filthy. But they're hungrier for the win. We have to be that way too, even after the win. So that the vanishing American Jew, I'll say the vanishing Jew, doesn't actually become a reality. But yes, everything is going to be okay. And as crazy as things look, everything is actually okay now too.
You're great. You're great, Simone.
Thank you.
Do you want to send a message out to Nir?
If you could actually hear this and see this, the same message that I send him every single day, which is that I am so tremendously proud of you, that I love you, that I am in love with you, that your children are cheering for you, to go get them, and to keep your promise that you're going to come home safe and successful, that we can please go on vacation when you do.
Yeah. Simone Maman, thank you so much. You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
I'm telling you that people were wondering about this relationship because it had been spelled out from Nir's side through the interviews that we did together. So you were a sense out there. This was his wife. This is how much he adores her. But through this interview, you brought it all home.
Good.
And I think the message here, there's a few, but I think one of the messages in terms of your relationship is you were so incredibly blessed to have found one another. It's true. It's true. Right? How often do people have such blessings?
I don't know, but I hope they have it so much more. And, I would say that when, if you have any young listeners or even older listeners who are out, dating right now, look for true compatibility in that shared mission, in shared ideals. Looks fade, not Nir's. That guy's a heck of a lot cuter than he ever was. But we listen. We're all going to get older, a little more wrinkled, a little bit more gray. But it's that when you're able to team up with somebody who shares your passion, or at the very least is passionate about you going after your passions, it's as if your efforts get amplified in the world. Like, how cool is that? I mean, if he was here right now, we could do what we could do together, side by side. But by being willing to actually go into two separate spaces right now, I get to fight for Israel on the home front here, like our actual immediate home, and he gets to fight for it there. It's as if our efforts are doubled. It's truly an amplification of one. we're actually so much stronger together than we are apart, going after the exact same thing in the world. And so I would urge everybody, even in your platonic relationships, in your work relationships, find true alignment. Because, when Nir and I disagree on something, I'm not like, whatever, I'll let it slide because he's so good looking. It's like, no. and he is, but that's not, what empowers us to continue to pursue this relationship that we're so committed to. There's something much bigger than us at play, something much bigger that we signed up for as a team. It's why we've locked arms. Look for that alignment everywhere. So
I think.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think this interview was about a love story. I think it's a love story, this interview.
Yeah.
And it's a love story between you and Nir, between Nir and you and your children. It's a love story between you and the Jewish people and your love for God. It's a love story, this interview.
Good. I hope it's received that way.
I'm sure it will be. Friends, thank you so much for joining us. I hope we answered a lot of your questions, because I know there were so many out there. And we really take this moment to say Hebrew prayer, Oseh Shalom b'mamav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen, which means there should be peace everywhere. There should be peace in Israel. There should be peace amongst the Jewish people. And there should be peace amongst the entire world, because we can achieve it. Humankind is inimitable. The wonderful ability to reach our goals, our objectives, and good goals, powerful goals, goals of love and respect and loyalty and communication. We can get there. We can all be under the chuppah, the canopy, right?
Yep.
Simone?
Yes.
So we will be back soon with some more inspirational guests. Glean from them, learn from them, take away from this interview, and build it into your own life. With that, I would once again like to thank Simone Maman for being with us today. And you were exquisite, absolutely exquisite.
Thank
you have a lovely soul, and we will see you soon. So, sei gesund. It's Yiddish for take care. I'm trying that out. Do you like that, Simone?
Yeah, I think it's really fitting.
Yeah, it's very Moroccan, isn't it?
Extremely. As Moroccan as filter fish.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Take care.